Well, something like that. Hey, welcome to session 11. We're going to talk about pentatonic scales, a guitar player's favorite scale that he needs to know in order to do good old-fashioned rock and roll soloing. So many things have started with pentatonic scales, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Pentatonic scales are the foundation of soloing, so we're going to learn about the 5 pentatonic forms, as well as some common soloing patterns for you to get started on. In our guitar tips section, we're going to talk about learning how to play and solo in any key, any place on the neck by connecting pentatonic scales. It's one of the most valuable keys I've ever learned. So we're going to add a new section on developing your musical ears to be able to play the ideas that you hear in your head. A little bit about ear training, training our ears to hear what our mind is telling us to play. So we've got a lot to go. Let's get started. Okay, today we're going to talk about pentatonic scales. Pentatonic scales are one of the most useful scales that you use for good old-fashioned soloing and rock and roll stuff. Pentatonic, as you can tell by the name, penta, it's a 5-note scale, and it's based off of the major scale. It takes certain notes out of that major scale, and it forms kind of a mini scale within it, a pentatonic scale, a 5-note scale. So what notes does it take? Here we have a C major scale, and the notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Now we're going to take the first, the second, the third, the fifth, and the sixth step out of that scale, and that's going to form our subset that we're going to call the pentatonic scale. The pentatonic scale is made up of the first, the second, the third, the fifth, and the sixth of your major scale. You take those notes out, whether it's in C, F, G, whatever, and you take those notes out, and that forms a pentatonic scale. So a pentatonic scale in C would be C, D, E, G, and A. C, D, E, G, and A. Now, of course, you keep going, on either side of it, C, D, E, G, and A, and you just keep repeating. Now, let's say if we did it in F. Remember our major scales and our keys that were so hard to learn? Here's where it starts paying off. An F scale, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, we're going to take the 1, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 out of that scale. You end up with F, G, A, C, and D, and that makes up an F major pentatonic scale. Now, here's one thing we need to talk about. We talked about parallel major and parallel minor in our chords, or in our major scales and our natural minor scale that we talked about a couple of sessions back. Here it's going to rear its ugly head again when we start talking about pentatonics. Actually, it's not a bad thing, it's a very good thing. You get 2 for the price of 1. You can solo in 2 different keys with only 1 scale, and being a guitar player, I like the easiest way I could do it. So that's why it starts helping out with that. So each of these scales that we're going to talk about, 5 different forms, each of them are going to have a major root. I could use them in a major key. I also, with a little bit of calculation, can use them in a minor key. So you get 2 for the price of 1. That's what the relationship between parallel major and parallel minor is. Let's refresh our memory on that. If I'm thinking major, the 6th step of a major scale is going to be the natural minor. So if I'm in C and I want to know the natural minor, or the minor root, it would be A, the 6th step. If I'm in F, it would be D. If I'm in B flat, it would be G. Okay, if I'm going from minor, let's go the opposite way. If I'm going from minor, well, then you just have to count up 2, or go to the minor third. If I'm in A minor, remember, it would be a C scale starting on A, then the relative major would be the 3rd step of that, A, B, C. So the C would be the relative major if I'm looking at it from a